Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control on the channel tonight. We have for you guys another Do It for Dale Series Race Cup Series edition and chase race number 2 of 10 at the Dover International Speedway. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into tonight's full race live stream realistic commentary coverage on the video game side of things this Thursday evening. Dale Jr. comes in with just his second points lead of the season and his largest at that, 15 points ahead of Carl Edwards coming into this race today following a win in the first chase race at New Hampshire just last night. And as far as that race went, it was pretty good for Dale Jr. Had the fastest car in the field by far, went wire to wire, led all 300 laps en route to his dominating victory. Most dominant of the season, great way to get the playoffs kick-started. Can he do that again on another 1 mile track today? I would probably say likely not. This is a very difficult racetrack on this game. In fact, it is probably the hardest racetrack for myself on this game. And really, if I look at the two toughest races we have coming up in the chase, it's these next two races. It's Dover and Talladega, and it is going to be extraordinary to see how this 8-team can do. They have to rebound compared to where they finished earlier this year, which was 36th, if I remember correctly, at Dover earlier this season. Let me look just to make sure. Yeah, 36th place at Dover earlier this season, so they're going to need a much better finish than that. And the good news is our driver Dale Jr. will be starting on the pole in tonight's race. The bad news is, although I was fastest in practice, I did wreck in practice. The apron is very sketchy. You can't run on it at all. You clip it just a slight bit and your car goes around. That's exactly how I wrecked in practice. I didn't even think I really clipped it. I was that close to the apron. Obviously, you want to get as close as you can without touching it. But there is no forgiveness at this racetrack. You clip it just a little bit, you're going around. There's no chance you're going to have of saving it at these high-rated speeds for this small of a racetrack. So without further ado, let's get tonight's race underway. And hopefully it's a safe one for Dale Jr. in the MBNA NASCAR Race Points 400. Corey Freet, Derek Booth, Outsider, Juanita Luna, Wade Zielinski, Hendrick fans, Regine Huddleston, and others, welcome into the stream. And again, let's get this race underway. Noah Hall, welcome as well. Alternative paint scheme for Dale Jr. and his championship rival is going to be starting on the outside of him. Green flag is in the air. We are underway at Dover. And the Monster Mile is likely going to claim a lot of victims today as we already have contact and we have a big wreck off of turn 1. Oh, a terrible start, taking out multiple chase drivers as Dale Jr. overdrove the first corner, got into Edwards, and the whole field piled in behind. That is unbelievable. The field was 2 by 2 off the start. Everybody was trying to miss the carnage, and they couldn't do it. And a terrible start after a dominating race at New Hampshire for the points leader, Dale Jr. Drove it off into turns 1 and 2, and he couldn't get the car to turn. And made contact with Edwards. He never ran side by side with another car in practice. That was the first time he was side by side in a corner with this setup. So it was really hard for him to keep the car underneath another one without making contact. And once he made contact with Edwards, he got glued to him. He couldn't get off of him. You saw how slow he tried to back the corner up, and they were so slow that the rest of the field had nowhere to go off the exit of turn 2, causing a massive pileup on lap 1. That is not good at all for Dale Jr., and we'll get the green flag back running again. Greg Biffle is going to lead the opening laps under caution in today's race as the green flag is back in the air. Kurt Busch was another chase driver that had quite a bit of damage in that. And Dale Jr.'s backing up off the start in case we see another wreck here off of turn 2, potentially as a field of single file for this restart. I'm sure we're going to see some debris cautions. That was a massive pile up off of turn 2. Saiziano, welcome to the stream. I don't know who's banning your account. To be completely honest, I had no clue that it was banned the first time or the second time until you mentioned something. Zach, welcome into the stream as well. See you in the chat. This is not a good start for Dale Jr. Good start for Greg Biffle, though, who didn't even qualify on the front row, yet he's going to lead the first 6 laps of tonight's race. Matt Kenseth's at the rear of the field right now as well. It wasn't even that Dale Jr. was too aggressive in the first turn. He just could not overtake Carl Edwards on the start. He's going to be very careful passing cars because, again, you cannot afford to clip the apron or your car will spin out. The problem is he ran so far up off the apron that he couldn't keep the car below the 99 when he was underneath him, which led to the contact in each of the top 2 on points. Get into the biggest accident they've had in some, well, I wouldn't say that for Dale Jr., but for Carl Edwards at least, and not a good start for Dale Jr., of course. Junior's right in line behind Scott Wimmer, sophomore season driver. Dale Jr.'s got to be patient. Not a good start. We don't even know if his car still got the speed it did to qualify on the pole and be fastest in speed-wise in practice. I will say the handling in dirty air, it doesn't feel that bad right now as he rides at the back of the pack, but he's also not pushing 100% either. Finally gets a run, gets to the inside of Scott Wimmer through turns 3 and 4, and he'll be able to pass the first car for himself in this race. 3 wide. Now down to side by side in the corners. Dale Jr. is very close to the apron on the inside lane through 1 and 2 as he's underneath the 191 car who sticks on his back bumper. And into the wall they both go. We continue to stay green. That was not Dale Jr.'s fault that time. The 191, and now we have a wreck somewhere else on the racetrack, so caution's out. That's going to bail Dale Jr. out because he lost a lot of time in the corner before that. Caution for debris off Jeremy Mayfield's race car, turns 1 and 2. That 191 car was hanging on his right rear quarter panel all the way into turn 1, and Dale Jr. couldn't hold the inside lane with the car underneath him. Not sure where Mayfield's running right now, but looks like his hood came off, causing the second caution of the day. This is just not a good start. This is everything that I had a nightmare about coming into this race and more. These first 15 laps have been pretty brutal, and 6 of them have been ran under caution for Dale Jr. right now. He hasn't even ran every lap under green yet. This track is so treacherous. I am telling you guys, I clipped the apron, I'm spinning out, and I don't want to demonstrate that. You can just believe me firsthand off the first race at Dover earlier this season, as well as how I ran in practice, which you guys didn't get to see. The car is quick and it's stable, but they meaning the rest of the field and the AI don't give you enough room to run the bottom lane to keep it off the apron and to keep from clipping the apron in the middle of the corner. And that's why Dale Jr. had the contact with the 191 car there. It wasn't his fault in that instance. It was more his fault with Carl Edwards, but it was just a tough circumstance. So he drives to the inside of Terry Labonte through turns 1 and 2, and he'll be able to clear Labonte. If he does not clear a car the first time he tries to make a pass, that's where he's going to run into trouble today. Gets to the inside of the 22 now of Scott Wimmer for 40th. Into turns 1 and 2, all clear. Side by side in front of him between Casey Mears and Jason Leffler. Do it for Dale. Welcome to the stream. It's going to be tough to look at the chat tonight, guys. Just saying that as a fair warning. I glanced at it there and I kind of missed the bottom of the racetrack. And Terry Labonte's in position to get around Dale Jr. again. Dale on the outside. In turns 1 and 2. First time he's had to run the outside with this race car during this race weekend at practice. He did not attempt to run the top. And he's just got to give the spot up to Wimmer and hop right back in line at 42nd. Gonna have to play the strategy game to get this track position back. That's the tough part to swallow, is he did have track position because he did qualify on the pole, but never even got to lead a lap. Jeff Gordon? I don't think I see Gordon anywhere. It might be Kyle Petty that you were looking at. Junior trying to get back around Scott Wimmer, side by side, back straightaway towards turn 3. Wimmer pinches Dale Jr. Jr. holds his line and gets around him. Each pass so treacherous. I am so focused in the middle of the quarter, trying not to make a mistake, and even that's not enough sometimes. Dale Jr. now drives underneath the 49 car of Kenny Schrader. Going to take a peek under Terry Labonte. He gets around a couple cars pretty smoothly to P39. Good news is we're still early in the chase. The bad news is knowing that every chase driver finished in the top 13 in the first chase race, you're going to have to be super consistent if you're going to win the championship from here on out. We had 8 chase drivers finish in the top 10 at New Hampshire as well. That's why Dale Jr., despite leading every lap, only has a 15-point lead over Carl Edwards and 25 points back to Jimmy Johnson in third. There's a wiggle. He actually saved it that time, which I'm quite surprised because in practice there was no chance at that. But you saw how loose Dale Jr. got, clipping the apron just a tad. I barely touched it. But at least he's aware of it to try and catch the race car. And he actually held on to his position because I'm surprised Boris Said didn't get back around him after Junior about lost his race car. In practice, Ed just completely spun out and nosed the inside wall off the exit of, I think it was turn 2, where I made the mistake, which was exactly where Dale Jr. was that last time where he made the mistake as well. Just the top isn't fast, though. That's one thing. It's just not existent at this time period at Dover. Not like you can diamond the corners off now. You just kind of have to stick around the bottom and hope for the best. You get on the outside, you're going to get freight train. Saw Dale Jr. lose a couple spots on the outside already off the last restart. I'm surprised we haven't seen more debris cautions yet. I'm sure we will, knowing how many cars were caught up in that wreck. And if we get far enough into this race before the third caution, potentially could set up for different strategy games. Junior got a little up the track that time, barely kept it off Travis Quaffle, side drafted him, was able to clear him, and now he's underneath the 41 car of Casey Mears. Well, this is probably not going to work. 3 wide through 3 and 4. Junior completes the pass. Contact behind him between Kyle Petty and Jason Leffler as I think Petty got squeezed into the wall. That was a gutsy move by Earnhardt. Great job not making contact or clipping the apron down on the bottom, and he's up to 33rd. I think I see Mike Bliss in the 0 car outside the top 30 right now as well. Tough start for the 0 of Bliss. Bliss looking for his 20th top 10 of the season if he can get a top 10 just one more time this year. The speed he has had, surprisingly, I think that is definitely doable. Bliss fighting back to the inside of Shane Meals. Dale Jr. closes in behind both of them. He'll follow Bliss in the 0 car. Matt Kenseth's gained a lot of spots after starting at the back. He's stuck in the outside lane behind Michael Waltrip. And on the outside of another car currently, which I can't tell who that is from back here. It looks like it might be Sterling Marlin in the 40. It's not Marlin, it's Andretti. It could be both of them in that spot. Junior had a run, backs out of the gas a little early on the front straightaway. Didn't want to get underneath Mike Bliss that time. Bliss was in the process of trying to get to the inside of Ryan Newman, and Dale Jr. respected that. Junior going a bit wide, almost gave up the bottom to Shane Meal, just got down to the inside off the exit of turn 4, carrying quite a bit of speed on the front stretch. On the inside of Ryan Newman, he flatlined it into the corner though. You can definitely tell the 8 car chopped the corner off quite a bit. And that led him into making contact with Newman, in which he lost the spot to Meal. Junior trying to get the spot back. Not going to be able to get inside Meal this time, but he is underneath Ryan Newman into 1 and 2. That time he doesn't flatline it, and he hits his marks and clears the 12 of Newman. Predict another top 10 for Bliss. That is a hot take compared to how he's running right now. I'll say that much. Dover's wild. Yes, it is. We had quite a few cautions in the first Cup race here. We've already had 2 today. Dale Jr. on the inside of Jimmy Spencer. And you wonder how the handling is going to go over the course of a long run. Is the car going to get loose? Is it going to get tight? Is it going to stay stable? Is it going to get quicker, slower? You have to imagine this car is pretty tender after that first wreck as well. Junior's had 3 DNFs this season, 2 in the last 5 races. The races he has not DNF'd in the last 5 races, though, he has won. Bristol, Richmond, New Hampshire. Will contact with Joe Nemechek. 3 wide off the exit of turn 4. Contact between Casey Kane and Shane Meal after Kane had bounced off the wall. Junior sends it 3 wide into turn 1, taking advantage of the contact, and now they're 3 wide behind him. Kane's in the wall again as he gets squeezed by Shane Meal, and Joe Nemechek followed the aid of Dale Jr. to get through there. Hard night's work cut out for Dale Jr. if he's going to want to go for 3 wins in a row. Winning the last race of the regular season at Richmond and the first race of the chase at New Hampshire. Matt Kenseth's got a rocket ship tied to underneath the hood of that 17 DeWalt Ford. And he was back in front of Dale Jr. on that last restart. And he's probably passed about 7 or 8 more cars than Earnhardt. Dale Jr. to the inside of his teammate Martin Truex Jr. got stuck on the outside after Mike Bliss had gotten around the 1. I was noticing Truex starting to go backwards over the last handful of laps, and Dale Jr. will get around his teammate that time as well. And Dale spins! Saves it? No, not quite. He might have nosed the inside wall just a bit. It was a close call. I think he did get the wall on the inside. He clipped the apron. Around he went. He barely clipped it, though, so I don't think he's going to have too much damage. It is so hard to run this racetrack. I'm afraid to say, I don't think that's going to be the last time that's going to happen today. It's a fine line. Dale Jr. crossed it there, and that will be the 3rd caution of the race. That's one thing with this track on this game, too. It might look pretty wide in the middle of the corners. It really isn't. This track is very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But to the naked eye, it looks a lot wider than what it actually is. Or that it seems to drive like in this game. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in. Intelligence will win the day. Yes, it will. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like I've had a lot of it today, even though I'm doing my best. I mean, I got through the field as patiently as I could. I wasn't even trying to make a pass when I spun that time. Green flag is back in the air. Greg Biffle has led all 44 laps so far. Dale Jr. kind of spun the tires on the restart. He couldn't pit for fueler tires because of bringing out that caution. You'd have to imagine spinning around a couple times like he did. That last caution, that last spin is going to hurt the handling of the car. Tire's probably going to wear out quite a bit more. There's a bug at this track. I don't think it's a bug. I mean, it's just some tracks are more forgiving than others on this game with the apron. I will say most tracks on the apron in this game you do spin out. Or you get very, very loose. Like at Dover. The difference is here is the apron is so flat and there's so much banking in the middle of the corners, it's much of a harder transition. Save of the day presented by Dr. Schultz. Luckily, everybody in the field missed Dale Jr. on the outside. 3 cautions already in the early going. And Dale Jr. is right at the back again. He got just under halfway through the field when he had spun. And he'll try to do it again. So he looks underneath the 145 car and turns 1 and 2. Makes a pass for position. Well, 43 car still in this race, despite that big early wreck. Junior going a bit wide. Gets to the inside of Terry Labonte. He's got the 191 car right in front of him. He's a little upset with Dale. Side by side between the 2 cars. The 191 hits Dale Jr. in the middle of the corner. And that kind of backfired on him as he ended up in the wall off the exit of turn 2. He jumped down, he hit him, and they got glued together as they were right in the middle of the turn. And Dale Jr. was on the inside when he had gotten creamed. Oh, drives underneath Boris said. Aggressive pass. Works out. He's got clean air in front of him now. That should help. Apex Racing League, welcome to the stream. Junior lifting off the exit of turn 2 to keep it off the wall. This car is a lot more edgier than what it was before the spin. These worn out tires. Luckily it's a shorter track. I don't think he has to worry about getting aero loose. Sporset was pretty close behind him off the exit of the corner, but it didn't feel as if Dale Jr. got any looser that time, with that being the case. It's almost going to be hard to pit and go off strategy too, just because of how much track position is going to matter today with how hard it is to pass without making a mistake, and a major one at that. Not a track where you see the cars get spaced out too much. It's shorter length. It's amazing how good Dale Jr.'s been on the short tracks this season, but yet Dover, a 1-mile racetrack, probably the hardest on this game. Especially when you're trying to master a 400-lap race. Junior looking low. Travis Quaffle with a block, and Junior's gonna go a bit wide in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Arc it down. He can afford to do that with nobody directly behind him. Side drafts the 77 car. Oh, and Quaffle clips the 8 of Dale Jr. Nearly turns him into the outside wall. Junior back to the inside of Quaffle. And he'll pass him cleanly this time. Quaffle just completely turned down right on the right rear quarter panel of Dale Jr.'s race car. I don't know if he was trying to file in line behind him and about turned him, or was aggressively trying to side draft and got into him. And that's what I mean. They do not give you a lot of room to pass on the inside, and that was Exhibit A right there. It's hard enough to hang on to the race car and try not to wreck yourself at this track, let alone when you got guys trying to hook you on the right rear. Unintentional or not. Second car that's made contact with Dale Jr. when Jr.'s on the inside of him since the restart. Big arc into 3 and 4. As he tries to close on the 22 of Wimmer. Greg Biffle still out in front, leading a bunch of laps. That's crucial for him and his hopes of trying to get his first career NASCAR Nextel Cup Series championship. Dale Jr. gets by Scott Wimmer through 1 and 2 for 37th at the back of the pack. Jr.'s the last of the 10 playoff drivers right now, or chase drivers. And as of right now as well, Dale Jr. just hit halfway on fuel at lap 60 down the back straightaway. We have had 3 cautions for 9 caution laps already as well. So it's going to be a potential fuel mileage race today. whether or not it's going to be a 3 or a 4 stop race. Probably closer to 3 with all the cautions already, and I'm sure we'll have more. Junior got to back out of it. Doesn't feel like he wanted to get around Kenny Schrader. Not that time, at least. He will now after getting into Schrader on accident through 1 and 2. Drives by Shane Meal. He's making some good passes. Underneath of Jason Leffler in the 11 car. Leffler Jr. was very close to the apron. He might have actually clipped it just a hair. That's how low the 11 car ran him going into the corner. And now Junior's stuck on the outside. He needs to get back down to the bottom as soon as he can. But it's not going to be easy. Already the looks of a frustrating day for Dale Jr., but he has to keep his composure. Leffler in the wall. Then makes contact with Earnhardt off the exit of turn 2 after bouncing off the wall. Kenny Schrader with a block. Junior finally gets underneath the 49 car. Man, that's... we got some close racing, ladies and gents. Gonna have you guys on the edge of your seats all night. Oh, trouble! Turn 1! Shane Meal goes around hard into the outside wall and collects Kenny Schrader, who is above him. Our 4th caution of the race. Meal got tight, up the track, spins, and Kenny Schrader had nowhere to go. And it looked like Borisset had problems trying to check up behind everything. He also got in the back of Schrader. And that will be caution number 4 today. Even the AI are having troubles trying to hold on to the race cars in dirty air. We'll see if the field's going to pit here. If they do not, Dale Jr. will pit only if they do, and they do not. He wants to keep the track position because it is so hard to pass, so he'll stay out of the pits this time for caution number 4. It's just so hard to pass. He does not want to have to pass any extra cars. If we have quite a few cars a lap down a little bit later in the race, then it might be worth pitting for fresh tires, but not when everybody's on the lead lap right now. So green flag's back in the air. Dale Jr. didn't take off too well in the restart. Shane Meal, who just wrecked, is on the outside of him, at least for a brief moment, but Dale Jr. will hold on in front of him off the exit of turn 2. Michael Turner, welcome into the stream. I mean, the car itself is good, honestly, in the handling department. It's a little edgier after that spin I had earlier because I couldn't pit for fuel or tires bringing out the caution. Once I get 4 fresh tires back in this thing again, though, I'll feel more comfortable with it. But it's just trying to pass is so difficult. Or contact on the straightaway, even. Guess that freed up enough room for Dale Jr. to get by Kyle Petty in the 45 car. That was a pass for 33rd. He's just a few spots back of where he was before he spun. I believe he was in 26th or 27th at the time when that happened earlier. And we're already 73 laps in as Greg Biffle leads this race. Still has led every lap, which is impressive considering that we have had 4 cautions. He's held on to the lead on each restart. Biffle looking like the one to beat, at least in the early going. Dale Jr. is 3 wide with Casey Kane and Martin Truex Jr. Luckily, they're side by side by the exit of the corner. Jr. is so close to that apron. He ended up not being able to pass either Casey Kane or Martin Truex Jr. Just kept it off the wall off turn 4. Got back in the gas as soon as possible to get back in front of Sterling Marlin in the 40, who he had passed the lap before. Outsider predicting Jimmy Johnson to win. And this is a track he definitely dominated over the years. I think he's the all-time winningest driver at Dover, if I'm not mistaken. Dale Jr. takes a peek to the inside of his teammate Martin Truex Jr. And he'll complete the pass for 31st. Truex will eventually get his first career win here in 2006 for the SO5 season. Looking for some track experience. I don't know if this is going to work out into 3 and 4 this time. A little contact as they're 3 wide. Dale Jr. going up the track a bit and has to back out of it before they wreck. They were leaning on each other a bunch there. And I'm surprised as much contact as there was in the middle of the corner that they didn't wreck. Truex got by on the outside for Dale Jr. just to pass him back in the next corner. I mean, you get glued on a car when you make contact here. That has happened almost every time. 3 wide just does not work. I mean, we've either seen contact, whether it's with Dale Jr. or the 2 cars on the outside, every single time there's been 3 wide. Or off the exit of the corner, they'll get somebody squeezed into the wall. Jr. goes up the hill a little bit, kept it off the 43 car that time because they were side by side, and he'll be able to clear green for 30th. Yeah, I know Richard Petty had a lot of wins at Dover, too. I was almost wondering if they were tied. All-time winner. It's not Holy Dallenbach. No, it is not. Random driver. Junior gets by Kenny Wallace for 29th. Speaking of Kenny Wallace, I heard he's going to be given the command for the Watkins Glen Cup race this weekend. Dale Jr. making a pass on Brian Vickers for 28 through turns 1 and 2. And Vickers in the wall pretty hard off the exit of turn 2, and Kenny Wallace going to get by him for a spot as well. Matt Kenseth's got a fast race car, and he might be one that could contend with his teammate Greg Biffle. Both those 2 Roush cars are in the chase. Dale Jr. underneath the 41 of Mears. Looked like Mears got really tight, went up the hill quite a bit. Jr. clears him off the exit of turn 2 and quickly gets to the inside of John Andretti for a spot as well. Kind of clipped the apron going into turns 3 and 4. Got lucky that the car never got loose at all there. And makes a pass on Andretti for position. Michael Waltrip is stuck at the outside line. Jimmy Spencer will get around him. Dale Jr. will quickly get to the inside of his teammate as well. Jr. looking for 25th. He's going to drive it in deep into the corner. Clips the apron on corner entry again. That's 2 laps in a row in 3 and 4. He's done that, but he has made a pass both times as well. Waltrip's still stuck on the outside as he couldn't get to the bottom underneath Casey Mears. Little contact up ahead. Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray making a bit of contact. Dale Jr. going to get around Joe Nemechek for 24th. He's passed about 4 cars in the last 4 laps. Jimmy Spencer hanging Matt Kenseth out to dry. And Jimmy Spencer passing a bunch of cars mid-pack right now. Dale Jr. to the inside of Kenseth in the 17. Trying to no longer be the last chase car in line in this race is Earnhardt. And he is going to clear Kenseth just barely off the exit of turn 2. He was committed. Can't get to the inside of somebody who was stuck on the outside yet, so he can be a little bit more patient now and try to tactically find his way around the 50 of Jimmy Spencer over the next handful of laps. I'm not trying to clip the apron. I'm not purposely doing that. It's so easy because the track's so tight. I mean, you guys, I don't know if you guys are just flat out telling me not to. It's not like I'm intentionally doing that. I know the apron spins you out very easily in this game, and I've got lucky the last 2 times I've clipped it that the car never really moved in an awkward way. I do agree, the 01 Army car is one of the coolest cars out there. Even the Ryan Newman Army cars in the 39 when he was with SHR was pretty cool too. Army cars have always had good paint schemes. Dale Jr. works his way to the inside of Jimmy Spencer. Pass for 22nd is made. And Spencer got the wall off turn 2 as well, so Junior is able to quickly pull away from him into 3 and 4. Quarter tank of gas left. I don't know how, but Dale Jr.'s made it 90 laps into this race, and he's about to make it through the first set of pit stops. Kyle Busch quickly gets around Rusty Wallace in the 2 car. Off of turn 2. Dale Jr. sitting behind Mike Bliss. Just waiting. Rusty's still stuck on the outside, and if he's going to get freight trained, Dale Jr. is going to have a good chance to pick up a spot on Rusty, so he's just going to follow Bliss right now. Golly. Close call again. Off the apron. Walls got to the inside in front of Bliss. Checked Mike Bliss up. That's why Dale Jr. is so low off the exit of turn 2. He tried to keep it off the 0 car. Almost ran out of real estate and quickly gets underneath Rusty through 1 and 2. Scott Riggs in the 10 cars on the outside as well. And don't look down. Dale Jr.'s up to 19th in the running order. McMurray, Busch, side by side. Jr. almost lost the bottom to Riggs. Gets down in time and quickly to the inside of Kyle Busch in the 5. Side drafting each other. Into turn 1. Jr. clear. Riggs will follow. Jr. barely kept it off the wall as he was very tight in the middle to the exit of the corner in line behind McMurray. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. Ashton G, welcome into the stream. Got over 25 people watching right now. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're almost 100 laps in at Dover. 4 cautions already today, and Dale Jr. working his way through the field as he gets by McMurray and turns 3 and 4 for 17th. A treacherous race car at a treacherous track. Not a great combination, but we're about to hit pit stops for the first time today. Nobody has pitted during the first 4 cautions. I think Casey Kane's the car right in front of the 8 of Dale Jr. He's got an alternative paint scheme, as well Jr. does for tonight's race at Dover. Looks like Jeremy Mayfield and Kurt Busch are going to be some tough cars to pass for Earnhardt. They're upset with Dale Jr. because of that big wreck on lap 1 off the exit of turn 2. Well, that had taken place that they had piled in. Mayfield actually had debris from earlier in that accident already. The only one of the debris caution so far. Yep, I got a Favre jersey on today. Somebody else mentioned that in the chat earlier. I didn't get a chance to acknowledge it. I figured, you know, we're going for a championship. Might as well wear a jersey of a guy that he worked in a place called Titletown. So, a lot of drivers coming into the pits this time, including Martin Truex Jr. and race leader Greg Biffle is in. That will give Jimmy Johnson his first lap led. So now Johnson's out in front, Dale Jr. inside the top 10. It's risky to short pit at these shorter racetracks. And Dale Jr. is going to try to refrain from short pitting. Johnson will pit from the lead now. Harvick out in front. Harvick not in the chase, but he'll still get 5 bonus points. He can finish as high as 11th in the standings. If the top 3 in front of Dale Jr. pits sometime soon, Jr.'s going to have a good chance to get 5 bonus points. Looks like Jeff Burton will pit. Jr. to P3. Jr. will take bonus points. It might be the only laps he'll lead all day. And you never know if a caution's going to come out, trapping a lot of the field a lap down as well. That's what Labonte's hoping for. He comes in 10th of the 10 chase drivers. Finished last among them in the last race, finishing 13th at New Hampshire. But Labonte going to pit. And we have made it to lap 100. Harvick's still out on the racetrack. Looks like Michael Waltrip will be in. Both right side tires in the yellow right now, and the tire wear indicator for Dale Jr. Still continuously staying green. Kevin Harvick will stay out this time by as well. Trying to make a green flag pit stop is going to be tough. This is one of the toughest racetracks to get to pit road without making a mistake. And the problem for Dale Jr. is you get very loose when you clip the apron at Dover. We've seen that already. Jr. spun earlier in the race because of it. So I don't know how he's going to be able to get in without spinning, honestly. He's closing in on Harvick, but there is a lot of lap cars he's going to have to pass to get to that 29 car. And these guys have fresher tires, so even though Junior's got faster cars than the cars in front of him, it's going to be tough. Well, he doesn't have to, because now Kevin Harvick will pit from the lead. Dale Jr. out in front for the first time today. That'll be 5 bonus points for Earnhardt, staying out of the pits longer than everybody else. And he is taking his time right now. He is not willing to pass any of the lap cars in front of him, knowing how treacherous it is to pass with them being on fresher tires. And they've already all come out of the pits too, so he knows that they're not going to have to make a late dive to pit road either. Not every car in the lead lap is pit yet. There's some cars behind Dale Jr. that still have not pitted. But Jr. is first on the leaderboard for right now. From the pole, it took 104 laps to get to the lead, but Junior is out in front. A little contact in front of him. The 191 gets into the car in front of him. Junior's giving up a lot of time staying behind these guys. Trying to be smart, though. Trying to stretch this fuel tank out as far as possible. Some more leaders behind him on pit road. They're making their way there. Cause a yellow and pit. I can't do that. If I cause an accident, I can't pit for fuel and tires. That's why it's going to be so crucial not to spin on pit road. Well, trying to get to pit road, I guess, if you're Dale Jr. Definitely not going to try to pass this 191 car. He tried to wreck Dale Jr. earlier in the race. I'm sure he'd try to wreck him again if he gets a chance. Junior with a 1-lap lead on the field. He has made it to lap 110. I know that fuel indicator's in the dark. They're going to stay out a few more laps. Junior trying to go as long as possible. If he could trap the field a lap down, what a game changer that would be. He's losing time on old tires right now, but I don't think he cares. Not this early in the race, at least. Bit up the track that time. He actually does get to the inside of Scott Wimmer, but he's going to back out of the gas and let Wimmer go into turns 3 and 4. Like to get fresh tires back on the car to start going on the attack again. Junior will pit at lap 113, so he'll stay out this time by, and then he'll pit at lap 113. That will be the call. He's definitely not pushing 100% right now. If he was, he'd be trying to pass some lap cars. Trying to get as many laps led as possible, just in case. You never know if he'll have a shot to lead the most at the end. So he's led about 10 laps, and now we'll come to pit road this time. Well, here's a moment of truth. Can Junior make it into the pits without wrecking? He has nobody directly behind him. That will make it easier for him to get to pit road, it looks. And can't speed either, and he does not. Well, he makes it to pit road. He's 1 for 1. No speeding penalty, no wreck. 4 tires of fuel will be coming on this 8 car. No adjustments. First stop of the day. Crazy how much he had to ease into the pits to try not to wreck that race car, and he did a good job of it. This is such a very... I mean, I kid you not, this is probably one of the toughest racetracks to get to pit road under green flag conditions. Be interested to see where Dale Jr. will cycle out. He was in 18th place before the pit stop started. I don't think he'll be there anymore. We'll see when he gets up to speed. Actually, he's got room. Okay, I guess he's in 18th. Somehow Dale Jr. didn't lose any positions despite being on older tires for about 10 extra laps compared to the leaders that pitted in front of him. He's got clean air and he's got fresh tires now. Car not on edge anymore. He did lose some time. He was about 6 seconds off the lead. Now he's 9.4 seconds off the lead. And he cycled in front of Kurt Busch, who was one of his rivals. Very crucial that Dale Jr. was able to do that. Hopefully he can drive away from that 97 car. So Greg Biffle in the lead once again following green flag pit stops. The Biff is going to be the man to beat today. He has not won since the Daytona 500 at the start of the season. So coming into this 28th race of the season, he is riding a 27 race winless streak. And he's still in the hunt for the championship. Kyle Busch putting the bumper to the car in front of him, making a pass for position. He did that same thing on Jamie McMurray already, so Kyle Busch has been very aggressive with his passes. Still battling for the Rookie of the Year honors as Busch. Junior running lap times quicker than Biffle right now. Just got to get that track position. Long green flag runs are going to help this 8 team because he can get more of a rhythm. It's our longest... Right when I said that. Oh my goodness. I don't know how much you guys saw, but that car wiggled quite a bit. And Junior was able to get the car to slow up before losing control. He had another moment like that earlier before he ended up spinning eventually because of clipping it. Car's got so much grip now it almost turns to the bottom too easily compared to before. As the tires are getting older, the car was getting a bit tighter. It's free in the early going of the run, so it's almost too easy to turn down to the bottom. Kyle Busch is pulling away after making this pass on Casey Kane. Just going to have to manage this gap, and we'll see when we get to the next set of pit stops if we do stay green to make it to the next set of pit stops. For Earnhardt's sake of exactly where these guys are going to be at for fuel purposes. Dale Jr. looks to the inside of Casey Kane. And he will pass Kane, despite Kane crowding him in the middle of the corner. Clean pass for Dale Jr. Kyle Busch trying to get around Rusty Wallace. See if he puts the bumper to him. He's made a couple passes like that already, and Rusty's been holding him up for a couple laps. Oh, Busch got a little loose into turn one that time. Rear tires slid up the racetrack, made a quick catch. Kept him from getting to the inside of Wallace that time because Rusty left a lot of bottom open. Dale Jr. showing he is quicker than the 2 car. Reeling him in pretty quickly. And Kyle Busch, after failing to pass Rusty Wallace for the last few laps, lost about a half a car length to him in 1 and 2 that time. And Dale Jr. is closing on both the 5 and the 2. Find a way to try to make a pass on Busch. Busch tries to crowd him. Dale Jr.'s there. Side drafts the left rear corner panel. Clean pass. Gets around Kyle Busch. He'll be all clear into turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. up to 16th. Now we'll see if Dale Jr. can get around Rusty Wallace in the 2 car. A lot of traffic up ahead. I'm thinking some of it might be lap traffic. Jr. holds the bottom, around he goes. He spins. Saved it. Oh my goodness. What a save from Dale Jr. Jeez Louise. Caught a little bit of the grass that time. He was on the inside of Rusty Wallace. They were door to door in the middle of the corner, and that will be caution number 5. And Jr. didn't clip anything. It's almost the same exact spot he spun out earlier, too. He's going to stay out, keep this track position, because I did save it. And that's the only reason I'm staying out of the pits. Golly. That's going to bunch the field back up. And green flag is back in the air again. Great jump on the restart. Now he's going to have worn out tires like he did last run, though. That's the problem. Great restart for Dale Jr. as he quickly gets around Mike Bliss for 14th. Well, no, trust me, that was my fault. I clipped the apron again. I know I was side by side. It's a racing deal for sure, but I didn't hit anything and nobody hit me, so we're going to act as if that didn't happen. And Dale Jr.'s up to 13th, getting by Elliott Sadler the next lap after the restart. Follow Ricky Rudd, who passed him as well. And Rusty Wallace following the 8 car. Dale Jr. was just in front of Wallace, I guess, when the caution came out. Despite the fact they were side by side, Rusty Wallace overdrives turns 1 and 2 now, and he goes wide, allowing Elliott Sadler to get back to the inside of him. Greg Biffle still in the lead for another restart. Jimmy Johnson appears to be in second. Jeremy Mayfield side by side with Bobby Labonte. Junior taking a peek on Ricky Rudd, couldn't get underneath him. Labonte stuck on the outside still as Dale Jarrett will get under him. And Dale Jr. to the inside of Ricky Rudd. Side drafts the left rear quarter panel. Rudd not giving Dale Jr. a lot of room. Bobby Labonte leaving the bottom open again. Junior's going to have to get around him. Side by side into turns 1 and 2. Labonte doors Dale Jr. They go up the racetrack. He tried to wreck the 8. And they're 3 wide still. Off the exit of the corner, Labonte runs Sadler into the inside wall. And hard into the outside wall. Up and over goes Dale Jr. On his lid. Big wreck. Back up in the air. Massive crash. Another car's up and over as Bobby Labonte has just wrecked the field at Dover. Debris everywhere. Junior's car was bouncing around. Somebody was in the grass upside down on his lid. I couldn't tell which car that was. It looked like Kenny Wallace was upside down in the grass, and that will be another caution. And somehow Dale Jr. did not DNF after that wreck. Bobby Labonte junked Dale Jr. Jr. had a car underneath him. Elliott Sadler was underneath of both Dale Jr. and Bobby Labonte off the exit of turn 2. Terrible crash for Earnhardt. He flipped, but he is still in this race as he got pinballed around middle of the pack. NASCAR Airlines, how may I help you? Yeah. No kidding. We are now taking flight. I'm sure we're going to see some debris cautions after that wreck. Man. I think Rusty Wallace also came in. Tough break. He was caught up in it. He was just behind Dale Jr. and Bobby Labonte. Green flag back in the air. Jr. spins the tires on the... Oh, Rusty Wallace tries to wreck him now. Good Lord. Got some shenanigans at the back of the pack. Junior's just going to let Wallace go. Rusty's only mad at Dale Jr. because he hit him when Dale Jr. was flipping, even though Dale Jr. had nothing to do with that wreck and why it started. Bobby Labonte needs anger management. Yes, he does. So does Rusty Wallace, apparently. I don't even know why Bobby Labonte's mad to begin with. He was a rival, and I don't remember making significant contact with him at New Hampshire because we ran such a clean race at New Hampshire. Oh, you know what? He might have been caught up in that first accident of the race. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know why he would get so mad after that, though. And caution's out for debris, so Rusty Wallace ran over that debris. That will be caution number 7, I believe, for this debris yellow, and it is the hood off the 22 of Scott Wimmer, which causes this debris caution. And Dale Jr. will get to pit for fuel or tires with this accident. Bobby Labonte isn't usually aggressive or angry. That is true. He tried to... I mean, he might have to take him to court. I mean, he was trying to kill people there. Vehicular homicide. Attempted murder. Junior can top off on fuel now. We'll take 4 fresh tires while he's down here. It means he's at the back of the pack. Try to repair a little bit more damage on the race car from Rusty Walsh on that last restart as well. Well, the good news is Dale Jr.'s off strategy. The bad news is he has lost all his track position. He was up to, what, 14th place before Bobby Labonte wrecked him after getting through the first set of green flag stops. A wild race at Dover so far. I didn't think he was going to try to hit us the second time. I thought he got all of his anger out the first time around, and then he hit us when we were 3 wide. Poor Sadler got squeezed into the wall. Had nothing to do with that, and really Dale Jr. didn't have anything to do with it either. Green flag back in the air. Following caution number 7. Caution's out for debris again. Junior's going to go extremely low to miss the debris, wherever it was on the track. And this time it is off Kenny Wallace, who was the other car that flipped down in the grass in that last accident. Yeah, I'm scared to use the Intimidator button. Let's get to prolong this race even more. This is already our 8th caution. Good news is for Greg Biffle, he's been out in front this entire time as he continues to dominate this race. And stay in front on strategy too as the green flag is back in the air. It's a miracle this 8 car has not DNF'd today. But I can't imagine that he is going to be able to take another vicious blow and be able to maintain. Caution is out another time. There's a hood lane on the outside of the track off the exit of turn 2, and it was Kenny Wallace's hood. So Kenny Wallace bringing out each of the last 2 cautions for debris. Now giving us 9 cautions in this race already today at Dover. The most we've had in a single race this season is 16. I should say the most cautions, the most cautions we've had in a race this season was 16. It was back at Watkins Glen. And I think we're on pace for that. Probably more. We're back to green again. We're only at lap 153 of 400, and we have seen a lot of tempers. Man, I thought Junior was frustrated at the beginning with the way people were racing him, and then Bobby Labonte amplified that to a whole new level. I think Junior's just thankful he's still in this race. Can't afford to DNF in the chase at this point. And somehow all 43 cars are still in this race. Nobody DNF'd, and we've had 2 big crashes today. One turn 1 off the exit of turn 2 on the opening lap. And then that big wreck 3 wide back straightaway. Bobby Labonte slams Dale Jr. into Elliott Sadler. Sadler clips the inside wall, comes back across the track, and melee from there. Dale Jr. going to go back to being patient again. He does have fresher tires compared to the cars in front of him, but I don't think the debris cautions are done yet. Surprised nobody else has been pitting. Rusty Wallace did pit during one of the yellows, so he actually has fresher tires too. He's passed 3 cars after the restart. He was inside the top 15 at one point earlier. Jimmy stuck in the prey. You called Johnson winning this race. He's been in second. He's led some laps during green flag pit stops. It's a good thing Dale Jr. stayed out as long as he could to lead some laps during green flag stops as well. So 5 bonus points for the 48, the 8. Those are the only other 2 chase drivers to lead today outside of Greg Biffle, who has dominated the race and is probably going to go on to win this race and lead the most laps the way things are going now, as long as he can just make it to the end. Junior tried to get to the inside of the 145. He was there for a brief moment, got out of the gas as he got squeezed off the exit of turn 2. I don't think Dale Jr. can afford to be nice to his rivals, because if they slam him hard enough and wreck him again, Junior's probably done. Junior on the inside of the 145 car in turns 3 and 4. Pass is made, and Junior trying to come from the rear of the field again. Definitely not gone his way at Dover so far. Anywhere he finishes, if he's in the top half of the field after flipping earlier, I think he'll take it. Gains another spot on Jimmy Spencer, quickly to the inside of Terry Labonte off the exit of turn 4 as well. Labonte hanging on the right rear corner panel. Junior does not make a mistake as he makes another pass for 40th. Labonte clips the wall off turn 2, loses ground to Earnhardt. Dale Jr. to the inside of Kenny Schrader in the 49 car. Schrader got a little tight, left a lot of bottom open for Dale Jr. to make the pass without getting squeezed. Dale Jr. right in line behind Rusty Wallace. Trying to move Wallace up the racetrack. Wallace squeezed him in the wall a couple restarts ago. Junior going a bit wide though in turns 1 and 2. Gets down to the bottom before Schrader can get there. Which is good because Rusty got underneath of the 22 of Scott Wimmer. Which allows Dale Jr. to get underneath Wimmer as well in the middle of the corner. Wimmer running Dale Jr. pretty tightly. Junior's so close to that apron right now. He's on the apron. Goes up the track into Wimmer. Wimmer's in the wall hard. No caution. We stay green. Wimmer goes all the way to the back. Tough break for him. Dale Jr. clipped the apron, ricocheted up the track. He didn't get loose that time, but it got tight after clipping the apron. I think he didn't spin out because he was out of the gas so long, both before he hit the apron and during the apron, that when he got back in the gas, it just went and shot him right up the track. Wimmer brought out a debris caution earlier, too. Pretty hard hit in the wall off turn 2. Junior can try to settle in again. Looked like Ross and Denny at Gateway. New level of confidence and power. I don't know about that. I'm not very confident we can make it to the exit. There's no way this car is that bulletproof and will remain that bulletproof. Junior has DNF'd a few times this year. It's almost kind of like how the California race started. Junior got in a couple wrecks, and then the third one finally did him in. And he DNF'd in a flip on the front starts there. He flipped here, didn't DNF, though. That was the second wreck he was involved in. He had spun earlier and saved it. Rusty Wallace just got passed by Boris Said and cautions out in turn 2. Not sure if that's for a wreck or debris, and I think it's for a wreck. Oh, Ricky Rudd has spun and collects Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman. Kurt Busch got a big piece of this. Oh, man, one car goes down into the inside wall hard. Casey Kane, he got launched into the inside retaining wall, so caution is out again. And Dale Jr. again is going to pit for fuel and tires. He's going to give up track position right now. But he is all right with that. So he'll go off strategy. This is the third time Earnhardt's pit. And there are a couple other cars on pit road as well. So Dale Jr. not the only one to pit. Ricky Rudd is in. Ricky Rudd might be out of the race. I have no clue. Kurt Busch is in the pits after being involved in that accident. That's second wreck Kurt Busch has been involved in today. Another chase driver. I think Rudd's still running. Yeah, he was in the wall head on. I don't know if he got hooked by somebody or if he just lost it, overcorrected. Few cars on pit road, but most of the field going to stay out. Dale Jr. going to be patient on the restart. We know the rest of the field's going to have to pit a second time, probably sometime soon. They pitted between lap 90 and 100 earlier. For most of them, some just after lap 100. Green flag back in the air. Still all 43 cars in. I don't know how we've seen this many violent wrecks and still have not had anybody DNF. Everybody's car's indestructible today. Seen 2 flips. Kenny Walls, Dale Jr. Beast Mode Vader, welcome to the stream. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, welcome into the stream as well. Junior going off strategy right now. We'll see if we get any more debris cautions. Interesting strategy call from Earnhardt. He can make this race on just one more pit stop, potentially. Another reason why he pitted. Maybe not, but at least he can go a long ways, and we've seen so many yellows. I would not doubt that we get a caution in the middle of a long green flag run, if we get a long enough green flag run for everybody to pit, and then Dale Jr. is able to go a bit longer as he gets around Terry Labonte for position through 3 and 4. He's got a lot fresher tires as well. Kurt Busch does, and Ricky Rudd, despite those two being involved pretty heavily in that last accident. Caution. Can't talk. I believe that was also caution number 10 today. I may have miscounted, but I'm thinking I have counted correctly. And I believe that was caution number 10, so we're only 7 away from the most cautions in a single race this season, which was 16 at Watkins Glen. I know Dale Jr. is definitely not going to try to pass a rival, at least until after the field spaces apart with green flag pit stops. So if he catches Kurt Busch or Rusty Wallace, he's going to sit behind him. So he really wants this to play green as long as possible. I mean, I'm surprised. Again, the only cars that have pitted under the last few yellows are Dale Jr., Ricky Rudd, Kurt Busch under the last caution, and then Rusty Wallace a couple cautions ago. So Rusty can't go as far as the 97-21, the 8, but he can go a lot further than everybody else. That would only put 4 cars on the lead lap for a long period of time after everybody else pits. So if a caution comes out between now and then, that's wonders for Kurt Busch and Dale Jr., who have struggled today, being involved in multiple accidents each, 2 apiece for both of them. And that's one way they can get back in this race, is they have not DNF'd yet. Truex is really sliding back. Dale Jr. on the inside of Scott Wimmer in the 22. And quickly to the inside of his teammate in the 1 of Martin Truex Jr. as well. Rusty Wallace, Kurt Busch really pulling away, especially Kurt Busch on fresher tires. He had top 10 speed, of course. 1 point in this race before that second accident. Jr. makes a pass on Ken Schrader. Schrader pulls in line back behind him. Dale Jr. quickly gets around Ricky Rudd. So he would be in third once everybody else pits. He's got the 14 car to his outside. John Andretti hanging on the right rear corner panel. Dale Jr. hanging on. I mentioned that the one way that we were going to get to the front of this field is likely going to be on strategy, not by passing cars through the field. And this is the strategy game Dale Jr. decided to go with. There's so many cautions not to take opportunity at one of these times to try it and give up track position to pit. And that was the first time he gave up track position to hit pit road for 4 fresh tires. And he could probably go to about lap 280 before he has to pit again. I don't think he's going to make it on one stop. Probably why not too many cars pitted. Jr. gets by Kenseth, and Kenseth now the last running of the chase cars. He was having a great day after not qualifying well, but now he's starting to slide backwards again. This race, I thought Talladega was going to shake up the point standings quite a bit. The top 10 within 101 points with 9 races to go. I'm starting to think that this race at Dover is going to be the one that's going to shake the points even more than potentially Dega later on this weekend. McMurray blocking Earnhardt. Earnhardt gets out of the gas and let McMurray to make that block. Really just got to hope a wreck doesn't happen in front of you, knowing we've had 2 big wrecks and how easily it would be for other cars to get collected. Oh, Junior got aero loose off turn 4 from the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Goes up the track as Kenseth then tried to go to the outside of him, and he almost got into the 17, and Kenseth's actually going to lose a spot to Shane Meal. Meal to the outside of Dale Jr. in 3 and 4. Jr. got blocked on the back straightaway by the 43 of Jeff Green. That was the first Dale Jr.'s gotten aero loose today. I didn't think that could happen at Dover, but happen. Kenseth gets back by Meal. Dale Jr.'s slowly catching back up to Jeff Green in the 43 car ahead of him. Somebody made contact up there. I think Rusty Wallace got moved off the bottom. It's the sparks you just saw. Lap 190 this time by. When will the field pit? Junior's got to be aware not to run over any cars, too, that are trying to hit pit road, and has to potentially go to the outside and be ready to make that move to the outside one of these times. We'll get to the inside of Jeff Green in the 43 car for now. They'll run side by side through 3 and 4. Junior spins! That is not what he needed. He saves it. Everybody misses him to the outside, but that is not the caution Earnhardt needed. Around he goes. There's no contact in it. Caution number 11. He's trying to make a pass on Jeff Green. You can see there wasn't a lot of room. They didn't make contact, but Junior couldn't keep his car above the apron and spins again. He's not going to pit for fuel or tires. And the field stays out. I'm shocked. I am stunned nobody hits pit road during caution number 11. Knowing that they are going to have to hit the pits sometime soon. Unless they did pit during some of the yellows, but I don't remember them doing that. Green flag back in the air. Junior spun his tires on the restart. Just hoping Oh, Jeff Green overdrove 1 and 2. He's stuck on the outside as Matt Kenseth and Shane Meal get by him. It's so hard knowing when to back out and when not to, because in that position, too, underneath Green, Dale Jr. was all the way alongside of him. It wasn't like he was just taking a peek into the corner and had the decision to back out. At that point, you're pretty much committed. And in fact, he actually had the bumper out in front of Green because he was scored ahead of him at the time of the caution. Hence why Jeff Green was the first car behind him on the restart. May try to refrain from passing any other cars unless he gets too much pressure from Matt Kenseth from behind. That forces him to have to try to make a pass so he doesn't risk getting arrow loose, which might be more likely to happen. Never mind, he gets to the inside of Sed anyway off of turn 2. Makes the pass in turns 3 and 4 for 32nd. Kyle Petty leaving a lot of bottom open. Dale Jr. will take that spot away as well to 31st. And crew chief is already letting Dale Jr. know that some of the field's going to pit, so he goes to the outside just to be safe. He'll give up a spot to Kyle Petty in doing so. Better safe than sorry. Dale Jr. didn't want to run into anybody. Now is the time he definitely doesn't need a caution. Surprised everybody stayed out, and I'm thinking they stayed out so they could potentially make it on 2 more stops still, because now we're closing in on lap 200. Junior going to the outside again, intentionally, for any cars that pit down below. See, he's worn his tires out quite a bit, so I don't even know if he can really keep pace with Rusty Wallace and Kurt Busch anymore like he could beforehand. He does have Ricky Rudd behind him. We know Rudd's not going to pit. Junior underneath Kyle Petty. He'll pass him back for 25th. More cars on pit road. I guess just one more car pitted that last lap. Hendrick fans, welcome into the stream. We are halfway home. 200 laps down, 200 to go. Jimmy Johnson leads. I think Greg Biffle probably pitted from the lead, if I had to imagine, which gave Johnson just his second lead of the race. In a race Greg Biffle has dominated at the Monster Mile so far. Alternating pit strategy for Dale Jr., Kurt Busch, Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd. They pitted during the second to last caution, or right around there for Wallace, but the other 3 pitted during the second to last yellow. And nobody else did, so that's why you're seeing cars make green flag stops just after lap 200. Dale Jr. making a pass on Scott Riggs through 1 and 2. Jeff Burton in the lead. He'll pit from the lead. Michael Waltrip on his way in. Dale Jr. to 15th. Scared to try to make a move on Mears this time into 3 and 4, just in case Casey was going to try to make a dive to pit road. Still rides in front of Dale Jr. Jr. not far behind Wallace. Kurt Busch pulling away from the 2 and the 8. Jr. gets a run on Casey Mears again, backs out, lets Mears get in front of him down to the bottom. Casey doesn't pit that time. Jason Leffler will, as well as Kevin Harvick. Tony Stewart, by the way, leading his first laps of the day, so he's scoring 5 bonus points. And Junior inside the top 10. As we are just past the halfway point, time for tonight's trivia question on the channel. Who are the only 2 drivers in NASCAR Cup Series history to win races at Dover that have gone past the scheduled distance? That is tonight's trivia question. So in a sense, who are the only 2 drivers to win races that have gone past the scheduled distance for overtime or green-white checker finishes in Cup Series history at Dover? There will be no hints to tonight's trivia question, and the answer will be at lap 220 if nobody gets it before lap 220. Tony Stewart pits from the lead, and Mike Bliss is out in front. So Mike... Oh, contact! Rusty Wallace gets into Kenny Wallace, his brother. Passes him for position. Kenny flipped earlier in the day. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch is not it. Johnson, a couple of people answered Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, but that is not the answer. Limited tries down in the chat. Not sure when this 00 car will pit. I don't think he pitted during any yellows despite the fact that he flipped earlier. I could be wrong. I don't think he did. Mike Bliss, though, getting 5 bonus points. It's big for him. He's been outside the top 10 all day. He was outside the top 10 for most of the day at New Hampshire, but he kind of snuck in late with a 10th place finish. Those final green flag pit stops towards the end. Not going to have late pit stops in this race, though, today. And Bliss will pit from the lead. Kurt Busch out in front for the first time. Actually, Bliss is still in the lead. Never mind, there's another black car that just hit pit road. So Bliss still out in front. The 4 cars that are out on the track behind him that have not pitted because they don't have to pit under green for now at least would be Kurt Busch, Rusty Wallace, Dale Jr., Ricky Rudd on alternating pit strategy. And Wallace can't go as far as Busch, Rudd, and Earnhardt on fuel because he pitted a couple cautions before the 97, 8, and the 21. Bliss is just trying to catch a caution right now. That's all he's trying to do. Taking the field run out as far as he can. Unless he did pit. I mean, Bliss could have pitted during one of the cautions too, but I don't think he did. Could be wrong. It's time for Dale Jr. to go now on these fresher tires. It's going to be tough to get around Rusty Wallace and Kurt Busch, but he's going to have to try it. It's not Marty Robbins or Fireball Robbins. Again, you guys have 6 more laps to try to get tonight's trivia question. Who are the only 2 drivers to win NASCAR Cup Series races at Dover that went past the scheduled distance? Junior took a peek under Wallace, but Wallace beat him back to the gas off of turn 2. And Bliss will pit from the lead, so he went quite a bit further than a lot of other drivers on fuel. Kurt Busch is out in front, 5 bonus points for the 97. And we've had a lot of chase drivers lead laps today. Kurt Busch has now gotten 5 bonus points. Dale Jr.'s led laps. Tony Stewart's led laps. Mike Bliss has led laps. All during green flag pit stops. Jimmy Johnson led laps early in the day on green flag pit stops. Actually, on multiple occasions with green flag stops. And Greg Biffle, far and away, has led the most laps so far. Clean air for Busch. Dale Jr. trying to get by Rusty Wallace. Wallace chops him off. And obviously Dale Jr. was not clear, or Wallace was not clear of Jr. when he made the contact. Wallace and Busch are going to try to wreck Earnhardt. Jr. loose in the inside wall. That straightened him out pretty quickly, but that was a pretty good lick. And he's going to lose a spot to Ricky Rudd as he was desperately trying to get underneath the 2 car. He clipped the apron, and the wall straightened him out. But he's lost a lot of time. Dang. It's going to buy Rusty more time as he tries to run down Kurt Busch for the lead. Matt Kenseth and Brad Keselowski's not it. Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson's not the answer either. Luckily there was no yellow for that for Dale Jr. Ricky Rudd's blocking all over the racetrack on the 8 car now. Contact between the 2 cars. Both get loose off turn 2, but hang on to it. Junior's just getting held up. He knows he's faster than at least the 21 and the 2. Can't get around him. Hamlin Keselowski's not the answer either. 180 laps to go at Dover. Dale Jr. underneath Ricky Rudd. Rudd missed the bottom that time. He got tight into the corner. No! Dale Jr. up into Ricky Rudd. Contact, they're both in the outside wall. No caution. No caution. We stay green. Jr. gets around Rudd for third. Oh, man. I thought they were wrecked for certain that time. But no caution. We do continue to stay green. Jr. got underneath him. He wiggled up the track and got into him. At least he's got clean air in front of him now. He's 7 seconds off the lead. Oh my gosh. Yeah, rear tires came up off the ground after he made contact with the wall and Ricky Rudd's car at the same time. And I'm sure Ricky Rudd's probably a rival now too. Luckily Dale Jr. is pulling away from him. The answer to tonight's trivia question is Jimmy Johnson and Chase Elliott. Jimmy Johnson and Chase Elliott, the only two drivers to win at Dover in races that have gone past the scheduled distance in NASCAR Cup Series history. Johnson's actually won 3 races that have gone past the scheduled distance at Dover, including one in this very race in 2005 that we were racing tonight in the Chase, and then also Chase Elliott in 2018 did it once, winning the Chase race there, / playoff race. A lot of you guys were pretty confident on Jimmy Johnson being in the answer. He was. Chase Elliott was the other one. Yeah, I was going to say, he said that after I said it. I'm not giving you credit for that one. That was well after I said it. Trey's Real Fanny, welcome to the stream. I don't even know if Dale Jr. has speed to catch Kurt Busch and Rusty Wallace now. They're halfway out of fuel. So halfway out of fuel right now. The hope is that a natural caution comes out. Dale Jr. can't cause the yellow or be involved in it in any way, so if it's debris as well, he can't pit for fuel or tires during the caution. So that's why it was huge that that yellow didn't come out after the contact with Ricky Rudd in the battle for third that you saw moments ago. Kurt Busch is in lap traffic right now with Wallace not too far behind him. Kurt Busch trying to get his 3rd win of the season. He won just a few races ago at California, the second to last race of the Chase. Made it in as the number 9 seed. Took it till the last race of the regular season for him to lock himself into the Chase with a good run at Richmond. Had a strong end to the regular season. Good start to the Chase. He's coming off the top 10 at New Hampshire. One of the 8 Chase drivers that got top 10s at New Hampshire. And now he is leading at Dover. Dale Jr. somehow, after all the drama throughout the first half of this race, is in 3rd on an alternating strategy. Just hoping that a caution comes out that traps the field a lap down and allows him to pit under caution, as well as the other cars that are still on this strategy, which is Ricky Rudd, Kurt Busch, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Jr. Those are the 4 on this strategy. Jimmy Johnson winning this rain or shine. I'm sure he's battling with Greg Biffle right now for 5th place on the racetrack. It would be 1 lap down and be the eventual lead if we do stay green long enough for everybody else to stay out. We'll take our first field pass of the race today. We haven't done that yet. We'll go back to Michael Waltrip in the 15 car and see where he is at in the field. And currently, Waltrip is in 18. 1 lap down, of course, as is most of the field. And the drivers that did not go off strategy. A lot of spots up for grabs, though, for Waltrip in front of him. I wouldn't doubt that he can't get a top 10 finish today. Handling in the 15 car is a lot better than the 8. The 8 being involved in 2 wrecks and, in fact, flipping earlier in the race. Sits behind Ryan Newman in turns 3 and 4. He's probably just going to continue to sit behind him and not risk anything right now. Bringing out a caution. Potentially hurts his teammate. Rusty Wallace is in the pits. Remember, Rusty Wallace couldn't go as far as the 97, 21, and 8. Oh, big moment there. Jeremy Mayfield got sideways in turns 3 and 4. Lost the bottom lane now. Waltrip gets under him, and Ryan Newman also got around him. And we'll go back to Martin Truex Jr. for about 4 laps, as Truex is currently in 31st. Drives by the 0-0 of Kenny Wallace, who's still hoodless after flipping earlier in the grass in 3 and 4. Truex gets around Jeff Green. Quickly to the inside of Travis Quaffle. Passes the 77 car for 28th. Truex on the inside of Casey Mears. Makes a pass on him into turns 1 and 2. Big run underneath Sterling Marlin. Slides up clear on him in 3 and 4. Gonna try to help his teammate Dale Jr. out by getting around chaser Matt Kenseth potentially for position, and does. Jarrett with a big block on Truex. I could have turned Jarrett's race car right around. And Truex gets by Dale Jarrett for 24th. We'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is now up to 2nd place. Get to the inside there, but Dale Jr. is now in 2nd place with Rusty Wallace pitting some time ago, which would better him even more if a caution came out. Now there would just be 3 cars on the lead lap rather than 4. Martin Truex Jr., I mean, obviously he's not in the Hall of Fame yet because he's not retired, but it's not really a trivia question. It's more of just an opinionated question. I think he will be in the Hall of Fame. Pretty much every driver that has won a championship is in the Hall of Fame. I think all but 2 of them. And they were very early in NASCAR's era. Of course, of drivers that are retired and are Hall of Fame eligible. Jimmy Johnson hasn't been retired long enough. So he's not in yet for that reason. But he will be in a few years. And any other current driver in the Cup Series, obviously. So I do think Truex will be in. I think Kurt Busch has a little bit more speed in his Roush Yates. Well, I guess it's just at this time, his Roush engine versus this DEI engine for Dale Jr. that has been through the ringer today. An alternating strategy. If Dale Jr. can put together a clean second half of the race, which so far he has, he's got an opportunity for this strategy to work out. He's going to go as far as he can on fuel to the end of this race. He's got one car on pit road that has blown an engine, and it looks like it's Kyle Busch in the 5, which is going to hurt because he was the Rookie of the Year points leader coming into this race. So tough break for Kyle Busch as he has blown a motor. His day will come to an end. Billy Carjoy, welcome into the stream. And King Diamond Jeff, welcome to the stream as well. NASCAR Cup Series 2311 Racing, welcome to the stream also. A few newcomers over these last few laps. We have not alternated through the different camera angles yet today. We'll do that over the next dozen laps when we get to the start-finish line this time by as well. Junior's maybe closing in just a tad on Kurt Busch, but nothing major right now. And Jimmy Johnson, who was in 4th place, first car, 1 lap down, would benefit with a caution because he would get the free pass. Plus everybody else held a lap down as Johnson has cycled in front of Greg Biffle during green flag pit stops. Dale Jr. starting to close in on the back of lap traffic. Maybe part of the reason why he was catching Kurt Busch as much as he was. He's going to back out of the gas and let the 145 car go into turns 3 and 4. Big momentum off the exit of the corners. Dale Jr. gets down to the inside. Holds on to the bottom lane through 1 and 2. Makes the pass. 7 seconds off the lead. It was 7.5 seconds. Junior is definitely closing the gap. I wonder who's going to have a quicker pit stop between the 97 and the 8 as well, if these are the two potentially racing each other for the win. Depending on exactly how the strategy ends up working out as well. Dale Jr. did have to make 1 green flag stop today. He was able to get the pit row without speeding and without making a mistake. He's going to obviously have to try to do that again here at some point in time. Nice little run off the exit of turn 2 as he closes on the 0-8 of Shane Meal. Got underneath him and got around Meal pretty cleanly. Turns 3 and 4. Quarter tank of gas left for Dale Jr. That's it. Oh, in the wall. Off the exit of turn 2 as he got back in the gas a bit too soon that time. Now Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, who will take over the lead once Kurt Busch and Kurt Busch and Dale Jr. pit. He's battling with Earnhardt. He's all over his back bumper off the exit of turn 2. Junior going a bit wide into 3 and 4. Leaves the bottom open for Johnson, and he's going to let Johnson go and clear him. Not going to hold up the 48 car who has fresher tires than him. Smart move by Dale Jr. He's on a different strategy. Dale's really struggling with the handling on these old tires right now. He had spun earlier on this tire stint as well. So that's another reason why his tires are slipping away as much as they have. He's back to 7.5 seconds off the lead again. Right back to not how far off the lead he was after we had that driver swap. Side-by-side traffic in front of Jimmy Johnson, leaving that 48 car nowhere to go. Scott Wimmer, John Andretti continue to run side-by-side. Waiting to see if we get a caution at any point during this run, though. As long as Dale Jr. finishes the race, that can lock him into a top 5 finish. Even if he doesn't have the speed to get with Kurt Busch. Compete for the win. Definitely not with Jimmy Johnson, who would get the free pass. Go back to the far chase cam now. Into turns 1 and 2, Dale Jr. making a pass on Scott Wimmer. Wimmer in the wall off turn 2. He's without a hood and a front bumper cover. He is all sorts of damaged. And it sounds like Ricky Rudd is pitting this time off of turn 4 from 3rd place. Dale Jr. to the inside of John Andretti on the back straightaway and heading towards turns 3 and 4. Jr. wiggles up the track, kept it off the 14 car. Trying to get it around Andretti cleanly. Andretti side drafts the right rear corner panel of Jr. off the exit of turn 4. Jr. completes the pass in turn 1 and 2. More clean air in front of the 8 car with the 48 pulling quite a ways ahead of him. Dale Jr. back to about 7 seconds off the lead from Kurt Busch. The right rear tires are really starting to wear out on the 8 of Dale Jr. He's going to start to get even more looser. But all 4 tires have been in the yellow at the end of the tire stints today. You see that again. Eighth of a tank of fuel left for Earnhardt. Now, Junior and Kurt Busch are going to end up pitting probably in the next 10 to 15 laps, but then everybody else is going to hit pit road right around lap 300 to 320. So Busch and Earnhardt are going to be right back 1-2 at the front of the field again. And the hope is to get another late caution. Even later in the day with less than 100 laps to go, that would trap the field a lap down once more. If they can't get the caution within the next handful of laps. They definitely don't want a caution come out after they pit and before everybody else pits, because then they're just going to be at the back of the pack. And with just over 100 laps to go, that would not be ideal. It's been so hard to pass. Junior's definitely going to stretch it as far as he can just in case he can make it on one more stop. Can't afford to save, though, because Jimmy Johnson's less than a lap behind Dale Jr. right now. Jr. can make up some of that time once he gets fresh tires back on this race car. Also, though, knowing the damage, it might not equate to that much more speed, if any at all, compared to the 48. And 48's going to be constantly faster than in the rest of this race. So, in really 130 laps, if it does stay green to the end, can Johnson make up about 23? Probably, well, from where he's off of Dale Jr. right now, can he make up 20 seconds on the 8 car for a potential spot? Kurt Busch must be dealing with even heavier lap traffic because Dale Jr. is now 6.2 seconds off the lead. Jr. looks to the inside of Terry Labonte off the exit of turn 4. He's caught the 44 car into turns 1 and 2. Labonte clips the right rear corner panel of Dale Jr.'s race car. Junior hangs on to it. Thankfully. Labonte in the wall pretty hard in turns 1 and 2 as he overdrives the corner. No caution, and Kurt Busch is going to pit this time by at lap 273. Dale Jr. to the lead for the second different time today, as he is out in front at Dover officially at the start-finish line right then and there. Lap 274, Dale Jr. back out in front on an alternating pit strategy. His only real shot to win this race at Dover. And he's making it further than Kurt Busch on fuel. So the likelihood that Dale Jr. could potentially make it a one-stop versus Kurt Busch might be a lot greater. Now Busch is a lap down. So that means there's just 2 cars on the lead lap. And it'd be Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson if a caution came out, rather than Kurt Busch and Dale Jr. If I were to have the 2 combinations, I'd rather have it be Kurt Busch and Dale Jr. just because Johnson's got a fast race car. But either or, I'd still be down with. Oh no! Hard crash for Dale Jr. into the tire barrier at the front of pit road. Gnarly wreck as he lost control. How did that not detonate the engine? He clipped the apron. That is unfortunately not a caution he needed. He's got a flat right front tire. He's going to have to pit for fuel. Or I should say he's going to have to pit for tires. He's not going to get the car full of fuel, but I don't want to run out on the restart. So we're not taking a full tank, because I did cause the yellow. It's the 3rd time he spun off the apron today. A little mistake with the front tire changer, having some problems with the air gun. That was a hellacious hit. Bringing out caution number 12 today. Single car spin for Dale Jr. It's going to give Jimmy Johnson the lead. Everybody else is trapped a lap down, but Dale Jr. going to have to pit somewhat soon. Green flag back in the air. Didn't want to take the unfair advantage. Oh my goodness, Carl Edwards. He remembered from lap 1 to try to take out Dale Jr., and he just about did. I don't even know who's rivals and who isn't. That was a jump scare. Edwards tried to take out Dale Jr., and Jr. hung on to him. He got in the wall, but he didn't spin. Junior's probably going to have to pit somewhere around when the rest of the field pits. They're all upset from that lap 1 accident. That's why I have so many rivals, because I didn't really have any before this. Especially coming off the heels of a clean race in the last one. Quarter tank of gas left for Dale Jr. Again, he only took quarter tank of fuel just to make sure he wasn't going to run out on the restart. So he'll end up pitting about with the rest of the field. He's underneath. Well, he's looking to get around Bobby Labonte. And remember, Labonte had wrecked Dale Jr. earlier. Jr. tried to get him back. He can't cause the caution, but he's trying to move Labonte out of the way. Can't blame him for it. Contact. Labonte tries to hit Earnhardt. Junior runs into Labonte and runs him back up the hill, and now is trying to get away. Labonte flipped Dale Jr. earlier. Junior was just trying to get by him. And finally does. Now it's trying to quickly run away from him. Gaps him a bit through 3 and 4. That's what Jimmy Johnson wanted to see. Yes, it is. I don't think Dale Jr.'s got a car that can compete with Johnson. He's technically got fresher tires than him now. It's the only reason he's even somewhat competitive to the 48. Dale Jr. to the inside of Jeremy Mayfield. Mayfield takes a swing at Earnhardt, and they get stuck together. And Labonte's going to get right back in front of the 8 car again. Mayfield without a hood taking a swing at Dale Jr. Junior cannot get out of harm's way, whether it's himself making a mistake or it's somebody else trying to wreck him. It's unbelievable. Now he's got to get back by the 18 of Labonte, who he struggled to pass before. A little contact behind from Casey Kane and Michael Waltrip. Waltrip puts the bumper to Kane. Gets underneath him through 1 and 2. Battling right around the top 10 right now. Blessing for Dale Jr. to have made it 291 laps through this race despite 3 vicious accidents. Maybe number 4 would do him in if he gets it a 4th. Doesn't want to let it get to that point. R6, welcome to the stream. Oh, Chastain in disguise. Junior right in line behind Labonte. He has to lift. He got tight in the middle of the corner. I really don't want to... I'm scared if I intimidate him, I'm going to get alongside of him. I'm not going to be able to pass him real quick compared to if I just knock him out of the way. The 1 car in pit road right now might have been a scheduled pit stop. We'll see how many other drivers in the field are going to pit as the window's about open to the end of the race. We get to 100 laps to go. That probably will be the case. Dale Jr. moves Labonte up the track, but he didn't clear him. That almost worked, but not quite. Oh, Mayfield now trying to hook the 8. And Edwards is right behind Dale Jr. He just got to let Edwards go on the outside. Now they're 3 wide into 1. Just about, at least. Mark Martin, Jeff Burton. And Junior has spun again into the barrier at the front of pit road. Good heavens, that's the 2nd time he's done that now. As he continues to kill the right side of the race car. Actually kind of hit more right rear rather than right front like the last time. And the treacherous Miles the Monster has taken a bite out of Dale Jr. again. And again, he can't pit for fuel or, well, I'll pit for fuel and tires, but I won't pit for fuel, but I'll pit for tires. Because I think Dale Jr.'s got a flat after that hit. 4 wrecks and somehow Dale Jr. is still in this race. And I don't know how. It's going to put another car in the lead lap with the free pass. Whoever was in 3rd behind Johnson. I'm not sure if Johnson may have gotten passed by any lap cars on the restart as well. They might have, but I'm not entirely sure. We still have about 100 laps to go. And Greg Biffle, the fastest car in the field, potentially is the one back on the lead lap as the green flag is about to wave. Everybody still has to pit one more time. 101 laps to go as we head to the restart. Dale Jr. gets to the bottom pretty quickly in front of Mike Bliss. And Kurt Busch got in front of Jimmy Johnson pretty quick, as well as Tony Stewart. And we've got some cars on pit road. Kurt Busch underneath Tony Stewart, side by side. It's holding up Jimmy Johnson. Maybe giving an opportunity for Greg Biffle to get by. Johnson underneath Stewart. Junior to the inside of Biffle. Potentially not quite. Didn't get enough of a run off turn 4 like I originally thought. Now he traps Biffle behind Stewart and Busch, who are still side by side in front of him. And it is a side-by-side battle for second between the 8 and the 16. Stewart gonna pit. That's one last car Junior has to pass to get to Johnson. He clears Biffle for second off turn 2. Biffle's in the wall. Contact from behind by Mike Bliss. Biffle got the wall off turn 4. Johnson hater. Kurt Busch blocking Dale Jr., trying to get back on the lead lap. Remember, he's got fresher tires than the 48 car. That definitely helped him get around Johnson initially, but now he's got to get around him again. If Kurt Busch tries to go as far as he can on fuel, he may be able to trap the field a lap down in a later opportunity. Busch to the inside of Johnson. Through 1 and 2, that might open the door up for Dale Jr. Johnson with a block down on the inside. Junior pretty low on fuel, and he'll pit this time. Junior's going to try to pit before the 48 car, so that way he could cycle out in front of him. Final stop of the day for Dale Jr. This is the money stop. His pit crew made a mistake earlier under a caution pit stop where there wasn't really anybody else that pitted, so it didn't cost him anything. Gonna need a clean stop this time by, like they had in both stops at New Hampshire. "13 cautions. Many, many caution laps. Probably 39 if I do my math correctly. Caution is out! Oh no! And Junior's gonna go a lap down. I think. 14th yellow of the race. And Greg Biffle has crashed. And Martin Truex Jr. is also involved. A terrible timing caution for Dale Jr. that's going to trap him a lap down. That is unbelievable, and that is caution 14 during green flag pit stops. Johnson stays out again. And that is why you don't want a short pit at Dover, but Junior did it. He was very low on fuel. Green flag back in the air. He's going to get the launch on the restart. He quickly gets in front of the 16. Now he's on the lead lap because he is in front of the leaders. The hope is that hopefully a caution comes out again while Dale Jr. is back on the lead lap as he is in the 8th place position. Trying to block. Hanging on to his position as much as possible. Gordon's in the wall. Gordon's still in the wall. Off the exit of turn 2 at the back of the pack. Oh, now Junior gets in the wall in the back straightaway. And he's got a rival, Kurt Busch, right behind him, unfortunately. "89 laps to go at Dover. Kurt Busch may take a swing at Dale Jr. He's got to be careful. Jr. with a block, trying to stay in front of the 97 car. Into turns 3 and 4. Junior's just going to lift, and he's going to let Kurt Busch go. He's still on the lead. Oh, no, Kurt Busch is the leader. That was not good. That was not a good idea. Kurt Busch is the leader. So now Junior's a lap down again. I didn't realize Kurt Busch was in the lead. It's just a safe move, so he didn't risk getting wrecked. Now, Junior is in the free pass position if a caution comes out. He's the first car lap down, but he'd have to restart the tail end of the longest line if I'm not mistaken. Well, I guess he's going to have to try and pass Kurt regardless. So scared of Kurt Busch, he just kind of let him go. Oh, that's one way. Knocks him up out of the way. Getting Kurt Busch back. And Dale Jr. is back on the lead lap at Dover once again. Hoping he can really pull away from the 97 in clean air. Well, this is going on. We're going to transfer to Martin Truex Jr. again. Oh, caution! And Junior's back on the lead lap. Caution flag is waved. Debris somewhere in the pack. It looks like it's off of Greg Biffle's race car. So Junior gets around Kurt Busch a lap later. Caution for debris from Greg Biffle. One bad caution leads to a good caution that gets Junior back on the lead lap. Unbelievable. Why not have Truex pit here? He's got quite a bit of damage. We'll try to keep it green. So it looks like he might end up having a debris caution because he had a lot of issues with his car. He was also in the wreck in which Greg Biffle was in. So 4 tires and fuel for the one of Truex. Just to repair the damage so we don't get another potential debris caution. Our 15th caution of the day. One shy of the most that we have had in a race this season. And this is off the heels of a caution-free race at New Hampshire, which was the first caution-free race of the Cup Series season. Noah Hall, you're exactly correct. Bad news is Kurt Busch is still the leader. And we're going to have to pass him again. Good thing Dale Jr. got around Busch when he did. And because he didn't have to get the free pass, he's right in line on the outside. How about Mike Bliss in second place? He has benefited with the cautions. Green flag back in the air. As Kurt Busch leads the field to the green. 82 laps to go. Well, Truex is 3 laps down, so I guess we actually have 79 laps to go. Is this the final restart potentially? Dale Jr.'s on pit road. Jr. is in the pits. Robbie Gordon to the lead as he got by Kurt Busch on the restart. Is Jr. done? He's a lap down again. Junior is coming back out onto the racetrack. He'll have clean air, but he is going to be a lap down. After just getting his lap back, then that happens. And he's in the pits again. Travis Michael Waltrip. Caution's out. We've got trouble on the front stretch. Caution flag is out again. And, what the hell? What was that? Dale Jr. just teleported from pit road onto the racetrack, bringing out a caution. And his teammate Truex spun in the process. Caution number 16, ladies and gentlemen. Well, green flag back in the air. Waltrip in 25th for the restart. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Stewart's in the wall. Now we got another wreck. Oh, my goodness. Caution number 17, and that is the most in a race this season. Waltrip overdrove 1 and 2. Oh, poor Casey Kane gets collected. Now Waltrip's going to the rear. Junior into pit again as well. Another chaser, Tony Stewart involved. That might have been the first wreck he was finally in. And Casey Kane took a big hit to the back bumper of Tony Stewart's race car after Stewart got into the wall on the outside. Green flag back in the air. Probably going to get a debris caution for Casey Kane sometime soon as well, I'd have to imagine. Caution for debris. I kind of figured that was going to happen. I don't know whose debris caution that was, but we have another one. And it is going to be off Shane Meals' back bumper. Guess he was involved in the last yellow, maybe. I'll swap back to Junebug the next restart. $18 cautions in tonight's race at Dover. I was not expecting that. I was expecting almost similar to what has happened to Dale Jr. today to happen. I was expecting him to DNF by now. And we'll go back to Dale Jr. Oh, Jesus. Junior's all over the place, really loose right now. Edwards trying to clean him out. Edwards is up on his left side tires. Caution, off turn 4. And we'll rack him and stack him again. Our 19th yellow of the race. And the 145 is spun at the back of the pack. Non-related to what happened between Edwards and Earnhardt there, but the 145 spins off the front bumper of Casey Kane, middle of the front straightaway. Caution number 19. And the green flag is back in the air. Junior's 2 laps down. Oh my goodness, got into the 191 on the restart. He's going to stack up the entire field behind. That 191 car did not take off on the restart. He spun his tires. Dale Jr. couldn't get out of the way. Actually passed him for position. Well, his only way to get 2 laps back is by racing his way back. Mike Bliss to the lead as he gets by Jeff Burton on the restart. Dale Jr. trying to get to the inside of Casey Mears. He does. Through turns 1 and 2. Junior could get 1 lap back, though. He knows there's so many cars a lap down that he could potentially still get a top 10. that way, and with all the cautions we've seen today, I don't know that we've seen the last still. Casey Kane had quite a bit of damage. I could see him losing his hood yet before the end of the race. NASCAR record, by the way, is 22 cautions in a single race. We're only 3 away. And we still have over 50 laps to go. And Mike Bliss is trying to go for his first career win in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. And in the second race of the chase, in which he made the chase in the number 0 car this season, an unbelievable miracle run for Bliss. Dale Jr. picking up some spots on the restart from 22nd to 18th. Trying to get to Bliss to get another lap back before a potential caution. He's got to move quick. Got 4 more cars to pass yet. At least he's in the top half of the field still. Honestly, with how many times I've wrecked, I'm alright with being 2 laps down. Because I probably deserve to be 2 laps down. It's realistic in the sense that I've wrecked 4 times today to be a couple laps down in this race. So if I have to come back from this because of that game glitch, I'm alright with it. Because I don't deserve to be in contention for the win. Unless I can race my way up there on my own merit from this point. Dale Jr.'s got to move quick, though. Because he needs to get this lap back before a caution comes out. Clipped the apron that time. Luckily didn't get majorly loose. He's pushing. Don't want to push too hard. Risk wrecking again. You don't want a DNF. He's outside the top 10, which is not good. Knowing how good the chase drivers have been this season. And the fact that Dale Jr. came in as a points leader, he's probably going to lose the points lead. Finishing outside the top 10. But at least the Wirtz track is going to be behind him. If he can get a 17th place finish, that's still 21 spots higher, 19 spots higher than where he finished in the spring. Kurt Busch just got around Jeff Burton for second. He's trying to get around Mike Bliss for the win. 2 chase drivers trying to win the second chase race at Dover. Kurt Busch has led quite a few laps today. Mike Bliss only led during green flag pit stops. Kurt Busch's alternating strategy has left him in this position. He got the timely yellows. And now he's trying to capitalize. We know the Roush cars have been fast all day. Dale Jr. is caught up. Jeff Burton with a block. Burton trying to get to the inside of Kurt Busch. Burton clips the apron. Bobbled just a bit. Earnhardt squeezes underneath Busch. Oh, Busch took a swing at him. Junior went up the track a little bit, but the 97 definitely came down like he wanted to turn him. And that costed Dale Jr. a lot of time. Costed Kurt Busch a lot of time too, as he's back to third. And that's exactly what Mike Bliss wanted to see. Because his strongest competitor for the win is probably going to be that 97 car. Ordered my winning Bliss t-shirt. Just think, Dale Jr. qualified on the pole today. Little did we know all this was going to happen. Imagine it was going to be tough. I'm not looking to Dover in the custom schedule season on this game. Hopefully in NASCAR 07 it's not this terrible. I can hope. I don't remember it being this bad. And hopefully the Busch Series race doesn't go this bad for Dale Jr. either. Because he is in a lot bigger points deficit. I mean, he came in with the points lead here, but he's in a points deficit in the Busch Series. And the Busch Series race at Dover will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the channel. You won't want to miss it. If it's anything like this race, you definitely won't want to miss it. Mike Bliss has done everything this season but win. He came into this race still 7th in points. A miracle season to just make the chase. And depending on where the other chase drivers are, is Mike Bliss going to take the points lead after Dover? Dale Jr. closing back in on Kurt Busch again. Can't afford to toy around with the 97 car. He's got to get around him fast. I still think Casey Kane's going to lose his hood before the end of the race. Junior underneath Busch. Busch actually didn't take a swing at him that time, and Dale Jr. clears Kurt Busch off the exit of turn 2 with a clean pass, which I did not think was going to happen. Almost gave up the bottom, stays in front though. 40 laps to go for Mike Bliss. He's pulling away from Jeff Burton, by the way. The 97 car of Kurt Busch is catching his former teammate Burton. Junior lifts off turn 4 to keep it off the wall. He got to tighten the dirty air behind the 31. Busch missed his corner entry through 1 and 2 that time. Great corner for Earnhardt. Massive run right now behind Burton. Into turns 1 and 2. Oh, Burton wiggled. Burton wiggled. Junior took the dive to the bottom at the perfect time. He clears Jeff Burton through 1 and 2. Trying to get the 1 lap down on Mike Bliss. And then hope for another caution. So he could potentially pick up more spots as Junior's currently in 16th. I think somebody else blew an engine recently because he was in 17th when he got to be in the first car lap down, but now he's in 16th. I do think the 8's just a skosh faster than the 0, but he just put it in the wall. That's not going to help him. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. It's going to stack up Jeff Burton a little bit further, though, behind Dale Jr. Mike Bliss praying it stays green. Doesn't want to have to deal with another restart. That's how wild this race has been today. We know everybody's good on fuel to the end of the race. Still have to alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race yet. And we'll do that starting at the start-finish line this time by. Junior clips the apron, goes up the hill in the wall. Kurt Busch going for second place underneath Jeff Burton through turns 1 and 2. Mike Bliss pulling away a little bit more after Junior's mistake. Stacked up Burton, which allowed for Kurt Busch to catch him quickly and pass him in the first corner. He had a chance at him. It's another 5 points for Busch at least, position-wise, as he passes Burton. This would be the 20th top 10 of the season for Bliss, and a second to start the chase. Considering Dale Jr. is 2 laps down, we'll have just 28 laps to go. This time by Kurt Busch. Oh, and he tries to turn Dale Jr. and the wall goes Busch. Caution's out. Caution is out. Kurt Busch tried to take Earnhardt out. Got him in the left rear. Poor Elliott Sadler was involved. Innocent bystander. That is not a caution. Mike Bliss wanted to see heavy damage from the 38. I think his hood popped off the race car after making contact there, and that is going to be yet another caution. That was not Junior's fault. Kurt Busch is trying to wreck him. And now Dale Jr. Well, Junior's actually 1 lap down, so there must not be anybody that is... Well, I'm confused how Dale Jr. got his lap back. But he got his lap back with the caution. The racing gods gave Dale Jr. his lap back. Kurt Busch just brought out the yellow. Oh, we've got a stack up. Maybe Junior can pick up more spots then, I guess. Jacob Givens, welcome to the stream. 20 cautions in today's race at Dover. We got one car blowing up in the middle of the pack. Down the back straightaway, it's Sterling Marlin. So Marlin has blown an engine. 3 wide off the exit of turn 2. Contact! And caution's out in front, 21 to go. And after the yellow, Brian Vickers gets wrecked. That was not me. That was not me who did that. Caution flag is out again. At Dover. And Dale Jr. not going to pit because he is going to be a little bit further up in the running order. Debris off Casey Kane's race car. I knew that was going to happen at some point. Surprised it went as long as it did. Dale Jr.'s back on the lead lap. There must not... I think there's 16... Okay, so I know why he's getting his lap backs. He was the first car 2 laps down. Then that caution came out. Now he was the first car 1 lap down. So now he's back on the lead lap getting 2 free passes because there's nobody that's 1 lap down. So if we get another caution, Dale Jr. is going to restart 16th behind the rest of the leaders. New leader in 3 and 4, Casey Mears. Mears has taken the lead away from Mike Bliss. After Bliss was leading late, lost the lead on the restart, and Dale Jr. was come from 2 laps down after flipping earlier in the race, is in 16th, just looking for a strong lead lap finish. You cannot predict what has happened in today's race. I mean, I probably couldn't predict we were going to see some yellows. I didn't think it was going to transpire in the way we have seen it happen so far. And with 14 laps to go, like Brian Vickers may have gotten into Rusty Wallace. Oh no, Junior's getting tired. He's going up into the wall with Scott Wimmer. Everybody misses to the inside. Caution's out. Number 22, tying a NASCAR record. Wimmer heading Junior under the caution. Oh, jeez. Aggressive goes around. I think the chase pressure is getting to these guys tonight. Mike Bliss is going to have another shot at this one. "22 cautions." Just like that, we choked. Dale Jr. is still in the race. The will to finish. 9 races, 9 chokes. I don't know if I say I choked this race away because I knew it was going to be tough coming in. We're still going to finish much better than what I did here earlier this season. I had a feeling the likelihood of me getting a top 10 coming into this race today was going to be difficult. I didn't think we were going to wreck as many times as we did. I figured we might spin once or twice on the apron, which I think we spun like 3 times on the apron. But the rivals have I mean, if it wasn't for the rivals, oh jeez, Junior just got into Jeff Green on the restart. So the green flag's back in the air. Ten laps to go. Dale Jr. underneath Ricky Rudd. Rudd does not take a swing at him, and that was a pass for position for Jr. on Rudd. Now he gets to the inside of Rusty Wallace off turn 4. Can Casey Mears hold on and get his first career win? Slide job by Earnhardt as he drove it in deep into turns 1 and 2, and he clears Wallace for 14th. Wallace is in the wall! He almost gets hooked off Brian Vickers' front bumper after getting into the wall off turn 2. Junior keeps clipping the apron, but he's keeping it clean. Looked like Bobby Labonte just scotched and scratched the outside wall. Off turn 4, Junior trying to reel it in again. 8 laps to go. Can't even see with the smoke that Wallace laid down for contact with Vickers off turn 2 the lap before. Jeff Burton to the lead. Looking for a win for Richard Childress Racing. Trying to get his first win of the season. We might see a non-chaser win at Dover today. Junior to the inside of Labonte. Knocks him up out of the way. Labonte tried flipping him earlier. That's a spot. To 14th. Dale Jr. blocking Jimmy Spencer. Down on the bottom. There's a checkup on the inside. Junior tried to get out of the way. He's underneath Carl Edwards off of turn 2. Edwards taking a swing at Dale Jr. and he has wrecked him. Edwards has wrecked Earnhardt. A NASCAR record 23 cautions as Edwards has taken out Dale Jr. Same spot Labonte took Dale Jr. out earlier. We're going to have less than 5 laps to go in the restart. It looks like Mike Bliss is in second. Can he get around Jeff Burton? There's not going to be any lap cars in between them. I've wrecked 3 times on my own today, and I think I've been wrecked 3 or 4 times by the AI. And all my rivals. 2 laps to go. Green-white checker finish. Dale Jr. trying to lean on Jason Leffler. That was for a spot. That's why he did it. He's up to 13th. And they'll be coming to the white flag. Can Mike Bliss get around Jeff Burton? Final lap of the race. No cautions on the final lap. Bliss to the inside. He's going for the lead in turns 1 and 2. He's got it. Clear off the exit of turn 2. Mike Bliss on a green-white checker is going to try to take the win. Junior drives it in flat into 3 and 4 as he tries to get around Biffle for 12th at the finish. Fighting for every point possible. He stuffs him in the wall to get the spot, and Mike Bliss is going to win at Dover. First career win for Bliss. Pulling off another chapter in the miracle season for the Zero team for Haas Automation. Last lap pass for Mike Bliss on a green-white checker restart at Dover. And Burton fell all the way back to 31st after that wreck. Or after losing the lead on the restart, rather. And we'll take a look at the finishing results here at the end. Mike Bliss ends up with 49 laps led, wins the race, started 41st. He did not look good in the first half, but the cautions played out his way, especially the couple we had during green flag pit stops in this race. And he was on the lead lap through it all, and he ends up winning. Jeff Gordon followed him to second place at the end. Jeff Burton fell back to third, leading 29 laps. Gordon did not lead a lap, but finished second, qualified in fourth. Casey Mears led late. He ends up finishing fourth. And Kurt Busch rounds out the top 5 with 75 laps led in today's race. Jimmy Johnson led 33 laps, finished 6th. He was very strong early, but kind of was quiet in those last 150 laps, but still strong finish for Johnson. He might be the points leader after this because he came in just 25 points out of first in third place. Kevin Harvick finishes 7th, led some laps. Joe Nemechek, front row Joe, finishes 8th for MB2. Dale Jarrett ends up with a 9th place finish, and Elliott Sadler rounds out the top 10. Both Robert Yates cars get top 10 finishes today. I think everybody was involved in at least one accident of the 23. 69 caution laps today, nice, out of 400. 23 lead changes, that was it, despite how many cautions we had. 3 hours, 53 minutes to get this race in. I'm surprised it wasn't longer. With a NASCAR record for the most cautions in a single race. 23. Vincent Figueroa, go Pack, go. That was not a good race. That was a sloppy race. A good finish for Mike Bliss, getting the green-white checker last lap pass. Other chase drivers that finished outside the top 10. Matt Kenseth never really had a good run. Finished 11th. Dale Jr. survives flipping, going 2 laps down. Gets 2 free passes to get back on the lead lap. Well, not to mention, actually, he went 1 lap down because of a caution in the middle of green flag stops when he was on pit road. He lost a lap, got his lap back, got a quick yellow, got back on the lead lap, got trapped 2 more laps down, 2 free passes to get back on the lead lap again. In those last couple restarts, he fought his way to 12th. Greg Biffle dominated this race today. 180 laps led until things got weird in the middle of the race with all the cautions, and he ends up losing track position. He ended up finishing on the lead lap, but again, unfortunately, back at 13th. He probably deserved to win the race. Him and Johnson, I think, were definitely deserving of a 1-2 finish, but it just didn't play out for him. So that was another chaser. Biffle outside the top 10. Seeing if any other chase drivers finished outside the top 10. Tony Stewart finished 25th. He got in a wreck late. 4 laps down for Stewart. He led 4 laps during green flag pit stops. Tough break for him. That's 2 finishes outside the top 10 for Stewart. Carl Edwards, despite causing a wreck there at the end of the race on Dale Jr., he finishes 27th. I don't know if maybe he DNF'd after that wreck, because I think he was for position. So I think Edwards might have DNF'd after taking out Earnhardt. He'll finish 27th. He came in second in points. Our teammates, Michael Waltrip, Mark Truex Jr. finished 26th, 28th. See if there's any other. Bobby Labonte finished 32nd. He's had a rough start to the chase. 2 finishes outside the top 10, just like his teammate Stewart. The only 2 chase drivers without any top 10s. And so with Edwards technically DNFing, I believe, Sterling Marlin, Travis Kvapil, Kyle Busch all DNF'd. So we had 4 drivers that failed to finish this race. 23 cautions in Dover. 10th of a second margin of victory for Mike Bliss over Jeff Gordon. Mike Bliss is a NASCAR Cup Series winner. Only in this season, where he has pulled off the unthinkable, getting into the chase. And we're going to check out the point standings. If you thought that was wild, we go to Talladega next. Oh boy. The UAW Ford 500 at Talladega. I don't think we're going to see another race like Dover the rest of the season. Well, maybe Martinsville could be like that, but that would probably be it for that. Dover was the way it was just because we had so many rivals from that lap 1 accident. I got in a wreck on lap 1. I overdrove the corner, and we had like 4 or 5 rivals after that. I didn't have any going into the race, but they were just caught up in the wreck, so that is why they were rivals, and any chance they had the opportunity, they took me out. That caused 4 wrecks, which we had a bunch of debris cautions following like each one of those accidents. Caused me to flip at one point too. Bobby Labonte wrecked me, so hopefully we can steer clear of those rivals, maybe make them allies at Talladega in the shared draft as well, because obviously drafting is going to be of an utmost importance on a restrictor plate racetrack. Yeah, well, if we do any one of those crashes at a high-rated speed track, we'll probably DNF. I mean, that's what happened at California. We also DNF'd at Michigan. Had a bad wreck there. And we also obviously are going to a fast track at Talladega next, so definitely don't want to get in a nasty accident. Dale Jr., through all that today in a 12th place finish, is still the points leader by just 2 points over Jimmy Johnson, who finished 6th. Mike Bliss is up to 4th. He is only 23 points out of 1st. The top 6 are within 50 points. Carl Edwards, who DNF'd, is only 65 back, with Junior, the points leader, finishing outside the top 10 too. Kenseth finished outside the top 10. He's only 79 back at 8. Stewart and Labonte, neither one of these two have top 10s. But Stewart's only 94 back, despite no top 10s in the chase. And Labonte, unfortunately, is 166 back and is kind of starting to fall out of contention. Still 8 races to go, and anything could happen, especially at Talladega. Hopefully we have a lot of cleaner races. I don't like when races turn into that because I feel like I did a terrible job driving myself in this race. Like I said, I spun out on my own like 3 times. So. And then I had that lap 1 accident, which was my fault too. So I wrecked 4 times in this race today on my own. And that's kind of pitiful, honestly. I deserve to finish outside the top 10. But still the points leader. I think 12th place, I'll take it. If I would have won this race with how sloppy I drove, I wouldn't have felt right. So finishing 12th, I'm all right with finishing outside the top 10. I'm all right with that because I didn't deserve a top 10 today. So hopefully we can have a cleaner race at Talladega. And if we get through Talladega, I do think Dale Jr. is going to have a good shot at this championship. Obviously, the 1.5 miles, he hasn't won that yet, but he's been super consistent. Super speedways are inconsistent for me, but Dale Jr. did win at Talladega earlier this season, so maybe he can get the Talladega sweep. That will be Saturday night. Tomorrow, we have to race at Dover again, and I'll be looking for my Dover redemption. It will be a NASCAR Busch Series race, 200 laps, 200 miles at the Monster Mile. Hopefully. I know setup-wise going into the race what to do. As long as I don't blow turn 1, lap 1, and don't spin on the apron, I think we'll have a good shot to potentially win that race if I qualify well enough. And we can't afford to have a bad race like we did in the Cup Series today because we're actually pretty well down in the point standings on Clint Boyer. So, Busch Series race tomorrow night at Dover. Should be an interesting one. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one, everybody.